This is project 5b of chapter 2, starting from page number 58. But before we move on to 5b, I just want to mention one last important part of project 5a, which is this. This cell contains the increase or decrease percentage. So the reason why we set it this way is that, for example, instead of, we could have put, let's say 1.1% or rate 1.1, 1.1, and so on. So we could have this and use that into the formula. We could have done that, but we didn't. Well, the reason is that potentially we have just about 7-8 customers, but potentially we could have thousands. And what if we want to apply the same rate of increase or decrease for thousands or even tens of thousands? Do you really want to type in 1.1, 1.1, and 1.1 and so on? That's not very time efficient. So that's why we just put one cell containing that value and use that for throughout the column or row. Okay, so if we wanted to change that, let's say instead of increasing, we're going to decrease. So 0.9, that's 10% decrease, and notice that all these numbers change. Okay, actually, let's say we're going to double it, and all this number changes. Okay, that's too much. So I'm going to change it back to the original. All right, so I wanted to point that out. So you can see the reason why we would want to have just one cell while we use all these cells to calculate each of other cells. All right, so let's move on to the next. So this is 5b. So we're going to be talking about multiple absolute cell references. So we could have more than one absolute reference cells, and for that matter, any number of cell references, both absolute or relative. So speaking of absolute and relative, we talked about absolute reference, and so basically that's anchored and would not move. But what is then relative reference? Basically, they are just regular cells. When you autofill it, they just increase by 1. Okay, those are the relative references. So here the situation is basically we have employees, and we are training them, and we are training them in, let's say, 3 different categories, and then we tested them. So Alejandro got 76% for plumbing, 80%, and 84% carpentry and electrical and so on. So we calculated here, I put the formula there, calculated using the average function. Okay, and the average of plumbing test was 76%. That's for everybody. And the average of electrical was 70% and 80% for carpentry. So the reason why we did that was that we want to calculate something a little bit more comprehensive rather than just get the average of individual without really representing how the whole class did. So if everybody did worse or bad, then if somebody got a bad score, it doesn't necessarily really mean bad. The student was bad. Maybe the instructor was not good. That sort of kind of things. You can figure it out. Or the instruction was too high, or the score was everybody got a high score, then you kind of wonder if the training was even worth it because everybody already knew. And that sort of kind of thing. So you can do a number of different analysis with that. So that's why we want to do weighted average. Weighted average means that you work with the average of the whole class, not the average of just one individual student of different tests. Okay, we work with the whole scores and reflect the individual record. So here's how we do. So first, let's say I'm going to go ahead and put the equal sign and then click on B24. Oh, by the way, I forgot to explain. These are the weights. So for example, well, the plumbing is important but not that important, so we'll say 20% of the whole thing. And electrical is a little bit more important, 30%, but carpentry is very important, 50%. So altogether is 100%. So based on that, okay, so equal sign B24. Guess what? We're going to press F4, put the dollar sign in it, so this is not going to move down, okay, while others will move down. And we're going to multiply that using asterisk by B17, that one. So now you can kind of guess that that's going to go down because we have to take care of the rest of employees, but B24 is not going to move down. Okay, and then next would be, oops, not minus, plus, oopsie, plus. It's going to be C24. This time I'll just do it carefully. Put an dollar sign in front of C, dollar sign in front of 24, and then I move. I'm going to use the formula bar. It's easier over here. So C24, and we're going to multiply that by C17. I'm still working on Alejandro here, and then plus sign, and then D24. And I'm getting lazy, so again I'm going to use the function for F4 and multiply that by D17. Okay, is it working here? Is it letting me somehow? Okay, well, I'm going to have to type it in. D17. Okay, so let's verify. So that's the first score. So that's the plumbing. And this one is electrical. And this one is carpentry. So at the end, hit the enter key. All right, so 81%. So did I get it right? Something went wrong. 76, 80. Oh, I see. Okay, the figure in the book that has a slightly different number later on. So wait a minute, 76 and 80, 80% and 84. Oh, still it is using different 20%, 30%, and 40%. Oh, I see. They changed the value. They changed to 40% later on. So that's okay. Anyway, 50%. Change it back. So this is correct. Well, the formula is correct. So, and so with these anchors, cell B24, C24, D24 will stay the same. It makes sense. These guys, they have to stay, while Alejandro's score and Ellington and Goodman, they will all go down. Okay, so B17, that's Alejandro. C17, D17, they are all Alejandro's, but they will have to change to 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. And let's take a look at it. So you're looking at the formula bar, and I move down, and B24, C24, they all stay the same, while the relative reference of the score cells increments. Okay, so I noticed that it's got decimal places a little bit too long, so I highlight it, and then I'm going to decrease the number of decimal places. So I'm going to just bring it down, and there you have it. And let's figure it out why I have different numbers from the figures in the book. So step number 4 says B24, so that's B24, change that to 30 instead of 20, so 30, and then D24 change to 40%. And now these numbers match with the figure in the textbook. Okay.